Studied at the Sorbonne, doctored in mathematics, I could have been a don. I could take a walk with me. I'm looking for a partner, regardless of expense. Think about it seriously, you know it makes sense. Let's make lots of money. You got the brawn, I got the brains. Let's make lots of money. I got the brains, you got the looks. Let's make lots of money. Money. and you don't know what it means to be with you.
feet. Che Guevara and Debussy to a disco beat. It's not a crime when you look the way you do, the way I like to picture you. When I get home, it's later tonight. I pour a drink and watch the fight. Turn off the TV, look at a book, pick up the phone, fix some food. Maybe I'll sit up all night and day, waiting for the minute I hear you say, I could leave you, say goodbye, or I could love you if I tried, and I could, and left to my own devices, I probably would. Come on baby, say goodbye, or I could love you if I tried, and I could, and left to my own devices, I probably would. Left to my own devices, I probably would. Out of bed at 10:30, the party animal phones a friend, picks up news about the sun, and the working day has just begun. Sticks with the gang at the back of the street. Pass the test and he don't compete. Drive the car if you're with me. Che Guevara's drinking tea. He reads about a new device and takes to the stage in a secret life. Left to my own devices, I probably would. If I was left to my own devices, I possibly would. If I was left to my own devices, I probably would. If I was left to my own devices, I probably would. I could leave you, say goodbye, or I could love you if I tried, and I could, and left to my own devices, I probably would. Left to my own devices, I probably would. Come on baby, left to my own devices, I probably would. philosophy.
Miserabilism is and isn't. Miserabilism is and isn't.
Meanwhile, your life is still directed as a drama with realism say it won't last beyond breakfast. It's a phase he's going through. Celebrate or speculate on what I'm going through, because it isn't the sort of thing I normally do. going on tonight? You think you might discover, so you pour a drink and start to think about another. You get the sack and then you turn up late. You think, get this pressure off my back. With the deadlines missed, your boss gets pissed. You fail your test, you're so depressed. And the job begins to suffer. And the job begins to suffer. Oh my God, look, you have just discovered with one thing can lead to another. Oh my God, look, you have just discovered the way that one thing can lead to another. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One thing leads to another. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It can lead to another. And the job leads to suffer for the love that you lost, cause you care such a lot about the job you've got. You couldn't care less, you're in such a mess, and life's tougher. You're feeling older, the house is colder with a mother than your lover, so she's moving out and moving back in. You get a job, you like the job, but isn't it funny how one thing leads to another? Oh my God, look, you have just discovered the way that one thing can lead to another. Oh my God, look, you have just discovered the way that one thing can lead to another. Yeah.
you. And remember, I've known you longer than your daughter.
Shampoo's alright for you, Pat.
Lovely, sweetie.
Should we finish off the beluga or should we have some smoked salmon and nibbly things?
Or whatever, sweetie.
Alright, we'll finish off the beluga.
Dolls sold the story. Beep, 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 bop, bop, bop. Dolls sold the story.
Right on time, right on time. Techno, bloody techno, darling. It's fabulous stuff.
It's fabulous.
Chanel, Dior, Lagerfeld, Givenchy, Gaultier, darling. Names, names, names. Harper's, Tatler, English Vogue, American Vogue, French Vogue, bloody ABBA, bloody Sicilian, bloody Vogue, darling. La Croix, sweetie. La Croix. La Croix, sweetie. La Croix. Sweetie, 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 sweetie. Up, up the volume. I'm chanting as we speak, but I don't. Sweetie, 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 sweetie. I'm chanting as we speak, but I don't. Shampoo's alright for you, Pat.
Oh, he was just a windscreen washer I picked up at the traffic lights. Bun so tight he was bouncing off the walls.
Bye, Pat.
La Croix, sweetie. La Croix, sweetie. La Croix, sweetie. La Croix.
Let the music lift you up, darling.
Dolls sold the story.
Bloody pet shop boy, sweetie. Get ready for this, sweetie.
I'm chanting as we speak, but I don't.
Sweetie, 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 sweetie.
It's fabulous.
Good, thank you.
Come outside and see a brand new day. The troubles in your mind will blow away. It's easy to believe they're here to stay, but you won't find them standing in your way. Sarah Vida, I love you. Come outside and feel the morning sun. Sarah Vida, I love you. Life is much more simple when you're young. Come on, esa vida, that's the way life is. That's the way life is. gloom, surrounded by the ghosts of love that haunt your room. Somewhere there's a different door to open wide. You gotta throw those skeletons out of your closet and come outside. So you will see a brand new day. The troubles in your mind will you want me to do. You're a vampire, I'm a vampire too. Sun in the kitchen, boys still singing. When you get hungry, I'll do what you want me to do. You're a vampire, I'm a vampire too. You're a vampire, I'm a vampire too. At least you can call me a hypocrite. I don't want fame or the critics' acclaim. Take it from me, that's a pointless game. I've got a mind or a chauffeur, a flunky, 'cause I'm the organ grinder, not the monkey. Call me old-fashioned, at least I know what I like. Why don't you get on your bike? Call me old-fashioned. At least I'm moving ahead. Call me old-fashioned. If I can't charm you, I'll just strong-arm you to bed. The moment I see you with your trousers dropped will be as rewarding as just having shopped. All of the names that I spent years collecting, they're the only things that are worth respecting. Prada and Porsche and Philippe Stark. The only little problem is where to park. Call me old-fashioned. You're all so quick to condemn. Call me old-fashioned until you learn how much I earn and I spend. Call me old-fashioned, and I've been called worse than muck. Call me old-fashioned, but understand what I've got planned won't be long. Sex is fun and sex sells, honey. A shiny dream to make me money where the sea is blue, the sky is sunny, love is hot and surprisingly old-fashioned. I'll make love down the phone. Call me tomorrow. I'll give you breaks. I'll be as long as it takes to your home. Call me old-fashioned. At least I'm moving ahead. Call me old-fashioned. If I can't charm you, I'll just strong-arm you to bed. Where you can be old-fashioned with me. roads were all diverted. Took a long time to track you down. Even then you were defiant. It's not what you think it is, you said, and proceeded to deny it. So I lost my patience at last, and it happened so fast. You belong in the past. I've been trying not to cry when I'm in the public eye. Stuck here with the shame and taking my share of the blame while making some plans that don't include you. I get along without you very well. I get along very well. I get along without you very well. I get along very well. I get along without you very well. I get along very well. I get along without you very well. I get along very well. What you want, you got nothing to say, and you can't hide that look of dismay. Why pretend you only want revenge? It's been said I'd be dead if looks could kill. Where'd you go with that threadbare crowd still in tow? Do they appreciate your tales of war? Clouds drift away when they see you. Rain wouldn't dare to fall near you here. Miracles happen when you're around. Somehow the grass is much greener. Rivers flow faster and cleaner. Being with you, no matter where, sunlight breaks through and suddenly there's a bluer sky. Whenever you're around, you always bring a bluer sky, a brighter day. Thunder is silent before you. Roses bloom more to adore you too. Miracles happen when you're around. The sunset is deeper and longer. The scent of the jasmine is stronger. Stray dogs don't bite, birds start to sing. Lightning dance strike, you suddenly bring a bluer sky. Whenever you're around, you always bring a bluer sky, a brighter day. Birds fly even higher in the sky. Sun shines, it's a new day. It's a new day. Being with you, no matter where, sunlight breaks through and suddenly there's bluer sky. Whenever you're around, you always bring a bluer sky, a brighter day. Birds fly even higher in the sky. Sun shines, it's a new day. Sun shines, it's a new day. Suburbia's a slipstream to our memory of a time when you were close to me. I pretend I'm there again. I close my eyes and see you better than before. Then I feel you touch me and it's 1984. I know what you will say before you start. In my heart it's a habit, maybe it's a sin, but I find out when I try it on, it crawls beneath my skin. Once it gets inside me, it won't go. Now I know where the Pet Shop Boys, where the Pet Shop Boys, where the Pet Shop Boys, where the Pet Shop Boys.
Rent shopping, being boring. It's alright, it's a sin. I'm not scared, in denial. I want a dog, I want a lover. Can you forgive her? Do I have to?
What have I done to deserve this? What have I done to deserve this? Where Love, it's not I who didn't try hard enough, hard enough. And this is why I'm saying goodbye. I've had enough, I've had enough. Love, you don't see the pain in me. It's plain enough, plain enough. You're never here to catch the tears I cry for us, I cry for us. I'll take my share, but I'll be fair. There's not much stuff easy enough. And if you choose, I'll break the news. This part is tough, so very tough. Tried and tried to put aside the time to talk, but without luck. So I'll just pin this note within your coat and leave the garden gate unlocked. Love, this is why I'm saying goodbye. I've had enough, I've had enough. This is the moment we'll remember every day for the rest of our lives. Time may rush us, hurt or love us, but on this day we have arrived. It's been a long time coming, we've been in the running for so long, but now we're on our way. Let the ride just take us side by side and make us see the world through new eyes every day. You're a winner, I'm a winner. This is all happening so fast. You're a winner, I'm a winner. Let's enjoy it all while it lasts. I've been a loser, paid my dues, I fought my way up from the ground. Now at this moment, the crowd acclaim us, but you just listen to that sound. It's been a long time coming, we've been in the running for so long, but now we're on our way. Let the ride just take us side by side and make us see the world through new eyes every day. You're a winner, I'm a winner. This is all happening so fast. You're a winner, I'm a winner. Let's enjoy it all while it lasts. It took us so long, we worked so hard, we came so far just to compete. But don't forget all the love and laughter. Now the world is at our feet. Looking back at all the times we felt downcast, didn't think we were going anywhere, just living in the past. But in that desperation, you get inspiration. You're a winner, I'm a winner. This is all happening so fast. You're a winner, I'm a winner. Let's enjoy it while it lasts. 'Cause you're a winner. It took so long, we were so high, we came so far just to compete. But don't forget all the love and laughter. Now the world is at our feet. You're a winner, I'm a winner. This is happening so fast. You're a winner, I'm a winner. Enjoy it while it lasts. 'Cause you're a winner. I thought it was like a film, reviewed but never seen, where everybody played themselves as a drama king or queen. The music was overwhelming, glittering and thin, solemn and shabby like a requiem in denim and leopard skin. I visualize the flashback, school, punk rock success, parties, too much of everything, the cliches, the can leopard skin. Johnny's wearing brothel creepers, Malcolm's round the block. Adam's in a German film, the look is let it walk. The Johnsons leather jackets, hair by Keith Smile. All you need to make it big is sex and style. This is our last chance for goodbye. Let the music begin. Shining and soaring like a requiem in denim and leopard skin. This is our last chance for goodbye. Let the music begin. Shining and soaring like a requiem in denim and leopard skin. spends a lot of time silent, has her head in a book. No one notices her until she dances. Then they all stop to look as she pops, she pops, she pop, and she pops, she pops, she pop, and she pops. Whoa, whoa. She pops, she pops, she pop, and she pops, she pops, she pop, and she pops. Whoa, whoa. She pops.
that trip down memory lane, where you're never gonna feel the same, where you're never gonna take the blame. Change your name, now you out the game, so you head outside, feel the rain. Something in your brain can't break the chain. Same mistake again, fake the pain again. Day to day, you're proud, wakey now. Holy cow, you're in doubt. You left and now you feel down. Your heart lies back in that town. So creep back in, don't make a sound. Or lose your crown again, sleep around again. Tell your friends that you're proud. Or ask yourself what you really want from life. Don't follow that crowd. I've never tried to make you walk into the deep end, and now I find myself awake for all the weekend. I never tried to force that Sunday morning creeping. I want to stay, but I must roll that boat.
It's Thursday night, let's get it right. I wanna know you're gonna stay for the weekend.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I wanna know you're gonna stay for the weekend.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Stay with me for the weekend. It's a long way to happiness, a long way to go, but I'm gonna get there, boy, the only way I know. 'Cause it's a long way to happiness, a long way to go, but I'm gonna get there, boy, the only way I know. It's a long way to happiness, a long way to go, but I'm gonna get there, boy, the only way I know. 'Cause it's a long way to happiness, a long way to go, but I'm gonna get there, boy, the only way I know. It's a long way to happiness, a long way to go, but I'm gonna get there, boy, the only way I know. 'Cause it's a long way to happiness, a long way to go, but I'm gonna get there, boy, the only way I know. It's a long way to happiness, and when we get there, is anybody scared? called us the pop kids, 'cause we love the pop hits and quoted the best bits. So we were the pop kids. I loved you. I loved you. They called us the pop kids.
It was a wet Wednesday night. We worried that no one would be going out. How wrong we were. When we turned the corner, there was already a queue stretching down the street. We swept straight in, and you said, I like it here. I love this. I like it here. I love this. They called us the pop kids, 'cause we love the pop hits and quoted the best bits. So we were the pop kids. I loved you. There's an undertow pulling me to you. There's an undertow dragging me down, and there's an undertow I've got to pursue you. There's an undertow whenever you're around. Nothing has been spoken of this. Neither of us has said anything to anyone, but nonetheless I felt danger when you crossed my path or walk into the room. I cannot escape this fate. It's my approaching doom. There's an undertow pulling me to you. There's an undertow dragging me down, and there's an undertow I've got to pursue you. There's an undertow whenever you're around. Save me, I can't help it, I'm sinking. Help me get away. But even as I speak these words, I know I'm gonna stay. Oh, where is my guardian angel when I need him most? Who'll be my guardian angel with danger so close? There's an undertow pulling me to you. There's an undertow dragging me down, and there's an undertow I've got to pursue you. There's an undertow whenever you're around. Intelligent people have had their say. It's time for the foolish to show the way. Let's lead this world a merry dance. Let's give stupidity a chance. We've heard quite enough of experts and their dealings. Why face the facts when you can just feel the feelings? Let's lead this world a merry dance. Let's give stupidity a chance. Forget political correctness, I mean WTF. I don't wanna think about the world, I wanna talk about myself. Instead of governing with thoughtful sensitivity, let's shotgun all the world with idiotic bigotry. Let's lead this world a merry dance and give stupidity a chance. You say corruption, I say justified reward. Keeps the cronies loyal, chairman of the board. Let's lead this world a merry dance and give stupidity a chance. Forget political correctness, let's talk man to man. Chicks are always up for it, you gotta grab whatever you can.
we gonna do about the rich? Come on, well come on. They're avoiding paying taxes while the welfare state collapses. Their extravagance and arrogance, their lack of tax to balance this. The lawyers and their attitude, the scale of their ingratitude. They only give to charity for maximum publicity. What are we gonna do about the rich? What are we gonna do about the rich? What are we gonna do about the rich? Come on, well come on. What are we gonna do about the rich? What are we gonna do about the rich? What are we gonna do about the rich? Come on, well come on.
I heard there's a dreamland in another world far away. They say it's a free land and they welcome everyone to stay. You got to take me, you got to make me remember how to dream today. I'm so tired of my homeland. When I fall asleep, you lead the way. Dreamland, I love you. I dream of you all night and day. Dreamland, I need you. I close my eyes and you lead the way. Dreamland, we're falling for pleasure in a garden where the sun still shines. And staying forever, leaving all our worries behind. It's a kind of amnesia where all problems seem to disappear. And you don't need a visa. You can come and go and still be here. Dreamland, I love you. I dream of you all night and day. Dreamland, I need you. I close my eyes and you lead the way. Dreamland, I love you. Dreamland is a free land. Kiss me, hold me, take my hand. the singer of the song in my mind's eye. If I thought what you think, I wouldn't even be here. I've just dropped in for a drink before I disappear. You got me all wrong. There's no one I'm missing. I'm quite happy to be alone. There are no lips I'm kissing. The truth must be the truth, unvarnished in its telling. Otherwise it's just hype you hope people won't notice you're peddling. Autumn is here and they're burning the heather. Sheepdogs are running hell for leather. Seasons are changing, time's moving along. Give me a drink and I'll be gone. Where did I come from? Where do I go? Time is so heartless, you don't wanna know. I set out in the dark, waking from a nightmare, hoping I could find the middle of nowhere. I'm a stranger in this town, but that's as far as it goes. And where I am bound, no one knows. Autumn is here and they're burning the heather. Sheepdogs are running hell for leather. Seasons are changing, time's moving along. Give me a drink and I'll be gone. You've got me all wrong, that's what I'm sensing. I'm not one of those breadheads, always pounds, shillings and pensing. There's a few things I need, but I've money for paying. And if you've enough room, I'll consider staying. comfort